This is our most extreme dig yet, seeing us battle the worst weather conditions we have ever encountered in the field. But will it be worth it?
It's the first time we've been back in the village since the torrential rain, and evidence of flooding is rather apparent as we detect our way towards our favourite Roman field. Maybe this wasn't the best idea coming out.
However, it's a lovely morning so far, and we should have most of the day before the next predicted storm, unless it decides to strike early.
Welcome back, it's Lucie and Ellie from Roman Found. Today we are going to take you with us to one of our favourite fields on the Permission, the Roman field.
It's a field that always provides for us. There's a wide scattering of Roman pottery across its surface. It's thrown up an incredible and rare Roman crossbow brooch, and we always leave with at least one Roman coin.
To get there we have to cross this small paddock field, and immediately large puddles and the emergence of a new spring are stark reminders of the recent heavy rains.
But this has us thinking, is it new or could it be the re-emergence of an old one? An ancient spring that isn't present in today's water table could be the reason for the previous finds that we've had out of here, which could all have been dropped by visitors to this very spring.
So let's start the search here and potter our way across the Roman field. We've got all day.
First signal, 26, 27.
Penny?
Could be.
How does it feel?
Good.
There we go.
What is it?
Looks like an old lid of something. Yep, an old lid. Bet it's snow fire or something like that.
Snowfire.
With ointment.
Is this signal going to be our first proper find?
Found it. What do you think it's going to be?
No idea. Lead?
Oh,
Oh,
coin? Or is it a button? Coin or button? Looks
Button?
like, yeah, it looks like a dandy button to me, look.
yeah.
How much attention do you pay to your buttons, and can you ever imagine being judged by them?
Well, in the 18th century, the so-called golden age of buttons, and the era that this big tomback button was lost, buttons were a way of showing your wealth and your class. They were an item of luxury, and they also contained quite a meaning behind them. They could be decent, indecent, or even scandalous in some cases. In particular, buttons were of the most utmost importance in male dress, because any other kind of jewellery was generally frowned upon. Practically every piece of clothing was covered with large buttons. The larger, the shinier, the more decorated, the better. There was one simple rule: the richer the man, the more sophisticated his buttons.
Yeah, 23.
This rather nondescript looking disc is all that remains of a halfpenny, one from either the 17th or 18th century.
It's like a halfpenny of some description.
Oh, yeah.
You may not think much about losing a penny now, but a halfpenny, especially here in rural England, would have been quite the loss back in the day. The work for a rural farm labourer in the 18th century was tough. The day was long and the pay was poor. It's been estimated that the maximum a farm labourer could have earned would have been only £17 a year, and often lodgings and expenses would have been taken out of that. So naturally the poor pay caused unrest and riots over the years, where workers would demand either an increase in pay or a cap on food prices. In one village in particular, a demand was made that the price of a pint of beer should cost no more than 2 pence, so just 3 more of these halfpennies would be able to grab a cold brew at the local pub.
It's time. The Roman field is calling. This field only seems to be bringing buttons and pennies today. It's time to move on.
Here in the countryside, life wouldn't have been changed too much by the introduction of Roman rule into Britain. Farming had already been around for 4,000 years, and much of the natural wild landscape had already been turned into cultivated fields and pastures. In the country, that was all that life was about, the continued daily grind of rural farming life.
We've been in this field for 10 minutes. That's all it's taken to make one of the most scarce and historically significant Roman coin finds to come out of here.
What is it?
Is it here? Is it that? No. I think it's in that, I think.
That looks like
I think we got a coin or something. I think that's it.
This is a quinarius minted under the Romano-British Emperor Electus, an emperor who lasted less than 3 years before perishing in battle. But Electus is pretty important. He's a usurper who assassinated his way to take control of the whole of Roman Britain. This coin reveals quite the tale of rebellion. It starts with Carausius, a disgraced naval sailor due for execution, who takes control of the entire Roman Channel fleet. He sets sail for Britain and captures the province, annexing it from central control. He rules for 7 years until he's assassinated by his chief minister Electus, who wants power all for himself. Ruling over an island province, control of the English Channel was critical, which is exactly why the reverse of this coin depicts a Roman galley, a type continued on from Carausius. It celebrates the Channel fleet, and with the legend Virtus Augustus, the courage of the emperor in charge of it, acting as a message to both Roman Britain and the rest of the empire of the power and strength of the naval fleet, almost like a brag of what they have achieved. The separation of Britain from the main Roman Empire lasted less than 10 years, making these coins a scarce historical representation of one of the most turbulent moments in Romano-British history, where Britain was ruled exclusively by a rebellion.
We suspect there is a bit more going on here than just your average loss of Roman artefacts. We have found pieces of hypercoarse tile, evidence of a Roman underfloor heating system that could belong to an actual building, plus the large amount of Roman bronzes that appear are consistent with a small farmstead. Things seem to be looking up as we're on a roll with another Roman coin.
There we go.
Ah.
That looks like a teeny Roman to me, look.
This tiny coin kept the local market going in a time of dire need. This is a locally produced barbarous issue of the Roman coin known as the Fallen Horseman, which depicts a fallen barbarian lying slumped over his horse, about to meet his end by a Roman soldier. It is tiny and crude, minted at a time where standard lower denomination coins were failing to meet the need for demand, something that was causing a crisis for the local communities who relied on these coins for everyday transactions. Essential and low-cost items of daily living such as bread had to be purchased, but without a lower denomination to pay for them, the local economy was in shambles, so society takes matters into their own hands and produces low-quality, crude imitations of the coins that they need, ones that plug the gap in the currency and allow the markets to run smoothly in this time of crisis. It's a fascinating insight into the inner workings of local economy and trade, helping us to understand just what was important in rural Romano-British life.
As always, evidence of Roman occupation here has us wondering what life would have been like on this land 2,000 years ago. The answer to that question is still somewhat of a mystery, as it largely depends on the class of settlement that existed here.
On the whole, the Romans introduced new road networks, organisation and produce. Pre-existing farmers might still be farming in the old way, but they had a better access to resources now, and new Roman goods available such as the pottery that scatters the surface of this field.
A Roman way of life was bleeding through into the countryside, and existing farmsteads soon became redeveloped into the classic rectangular Roman-style buildings.
At least 90% of the Romano-British population lived in the countryside at this time, but it was the ones living in villas, the centre of most farming estates, who saw grand building complexes that often incorporated mosaics, underfloor heating and even baths, who had the highest standard of living. A comfort that here in Britain wasn't equalled until well after the Norman conquest. Is this the kind of life that is hiding here?
Little 9.
Have you ever broken a promise? This coin is an example of a votis vicinalibus multis tricinalibus, minted under the Roman Emperor Gratian. It promises his vows for the 20th year of his reign and more for the 30th to come, only he never actually reached either of these dates.
Not too much on that one. Oh, hang on.
Is that a bit of text?
There's a bit of text there. I think that's a little bit of head there as well. On that bit just there. Bit of a laurel.
Oh yeah.
Can you see the vot?
Yeah.
So that would be in commemorative of one of their reigns. Then whoever it is lurking on this side.
Gratian was a very young emperor. He was just 8 years old when his father raised him to the rank of Augustus, and only 16 when his father's death made him his sole ruler of the Western Roman Empire.
The small denomination of bronze coins like this one at this time became smaller and smaller throughout his reign, whilst he himself began to make increasingly worse decisions. As an early supporter of Christianity, he refused the title of Pontifex Maximus, which meant supreme priest, the highest religious position an emperor could hold. He was the first Roman emperor in history to do this, and then he ordered the removal of the pagan statue of Victory from the Senate in Rome. These religious beliefs turned his own army against him until he eventually died at the hands of his soldiers, who no longer believed in their emperor, just 16 years into his reign. If you want to see more epic finds like this one, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and support our channel.
Has the weather forecast got it wrong? This rain was meant to hold off for the rest of the afternoon. Let's hope it's just a short shower.
A little 14, so it would be lead or a coin.
What's that then? That's something, look. Oh, hang on. Oh, I think that's a really nice Roman, you know.
Oh my god, I think it's
I think it is. It's really good, that. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Let's get the spritz on that one.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one, that.
This coin depicts one of the most intriguing members of the Roman Empire. It is Constantine I's eldest son Crispus, the main heir to the throne and whose life was tragically cut short and shrouded in conspiracy.
Wow, look at that. No, that's a coin.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's a Roman. Wow. Definitely the globe over the altar, look.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's a real cracking bust on
Yeah,
that.
that's so good. And like full legend.
Crispus was meant for greatness, much like his grand portrait on this coin that shows him proudly holding a spear and shield in full military dress, the perfect image of your future emperor. He was proclaimed as Caesar, the junior to the emperor at age of 12, and had undertaken command of several military operations, the success of which saw him as the right hand to his father, until suddenly he's executed. Crispus was at the height of his career, set to be declared the next emperor. His father, Constantine I, at this time had had 3 more sons, all also heirs to the throne, and all with his second wife, Fausta, who was not the mother of Crispus. But exactly what happens next is still debated by historians to this day. What is for certain is that Constantine I orders the immediate execution of his prized heir, and he receives the most dire of all Roman punishments, the damnatio memoriae, stripped of all of his honours, executed, and all trace of him removed from public records and memory. Then, shortly afterwards, Fausta herself is condemned and quite literally boiled to death. Brutal. We will never know the reason behind Crispus's drastic fall from grace, or his stepmother Fausta's involvement, but there are a few theories, from Fausta creating rumours to convince Constantine of his first son's death to ensure the rise of her own, to the discovery of an illicit affair between Crispus and Fausta, or that Crispus himself had grown too great and too fast, and Constantine was looking to preserve the longevity of his own rule by removing his greatest rival. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below.
That dark cloud does not look very happy chilling on the horizon. It's starting to look like we might have to brace. Something's coming through and it's coming fast.
Undeterred, we keep at it. The finds aren't going to find themselves.
How's it going, Ellie?
It's not going very well.
We found some great stuff. I'm filming you. You are.
What happens next fulfills one of my all-time digging dreams. This is something that we have dreamed about finding ever since we found our first ever fragment of Roman pottery in this field, a piece of decorated Roman Samian ware.
Decorated Samian ware! Woohoo!
I can't believe this has actually been a dream to find a decorated bit.
A fragment not just idolised by us, but also by the Romans, for whom this piece would symbolise the height of class and living.
Oh, this is so cool. That's like made my day. It's made my year! If there's any more.
This was such a special find for us that we popped to our local museum to learn more about its history and see some similar examples on display.
Samian ware is the term used to describe this distinctive, glossy, red-coated tableware, a Roman specialty that was imported into Britain from large manufacturing regions such as Gaul. It's one of the highest quality and most expensive items of tableware that a Roman could own, and decorated fragments like this one express the highest quality available. This piece displays a fan and scroll decoration, incorporating many stylistic elements of foliage and vegetation. These relief decorations were so expensive and so sought after down to the incredible skill that was required of the potters that made them. Decorated samian was produced with a mould, one that had to be carefully carved out, largely by eye, with the aid of decorated punches for the more commonly found border motifs and decorative details. Subject matter could vary from foliage to animals, gods, gladiators, or even the depiction of mythical scenes. The presence of such a highly decorated piece here is the strongest form of evidence we have gathered that this site is more than just your humble Roman farmstead.
That's Ellie. This is so good, but this weather's fucking crazy. Oh. That's so amazing. Oh my god. Jesus. There's something there. You hear it? It's fucking hailing! I don't know how to sleep with my boots. Yeah. Yeah, we're a bit wet.
Just a little bit.
We are left with only one choice to cut the dig short and return to the safety of the car, as the latest onslaught by the weather leaves us battered and sodden, barely able to film without a single ounce of dry clothing left.
Our escape to the car only further consolidates an extreme end to a rather extreme day, as a new river has appeared to cut us off. The next storm has certainly arrived.
So much water. Jesus, there's a day. My god.
In the safety of the car, we've uncovered some incredible Roman history today. We can't wait to return, but maybe after the rains have stopped.
If you've loved our Roman adventure today, then be sure to check out this one.
If you want to show more support to our channel, then why not check out our online store and treat yourself to some of our Roman found goodies. The link's in the description.